I never thought a poor boy would change my life forever until he showed me how to walk again. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. It felt like a quiet crack that turned into a raging earthquake, shaking the very foundation of my life. I was sitting on the edge of my bed, staring blankly at the wall, the silence pressing down on me like a heavy blanket. My hands trembled as I brushed away the tears that never seemed to stop flowing. I was struggling. My life was a series of shattered dreams and broken promises. My mom's laughter had faded, replaced by the endless sound of bills and her heavy sighs. My friends drifted away, one by one, as if they couldn't bear to see me like this. I felt like a ghost, haunting the corridors of my own existence. But everything was about to change. It started when I noticed him. A poor boy, no more than 15, walking barefoot across the burnt asphalt of the vacant lot near my home. His skin was the color of warm bronze, glistening under the sun, and his hair was wild, like a messy halo around his head. He moved with a strange grace, fluid and effortless, almost as if he was dancing. Each step was a testament to resilience, to freedom. I was drawn to him. I needed to know his secret. I approached him cautiously, my heart racing. "How do you walk like that?" I asked, surprised at the urgency in my voice. His eyes met mine, deep, vibrant, the kind that looked into your soul. "You have to let go," he whispered, a small smile playing at the corners of his lips. I didn't understand. Let go of what? My heart was heavy with the questions lingering in the air. He taught me with slow, cautious movements. Day after day, I watched him glide across that lot, a sparkle in his eyes, his laughter filling the empty spaces in my chest. I began to join him, to mimic his movements. I found myself taking small steps, trembling but excited. The fear started melting away. But there was something more, something strange about him. Whenever he smiled too broadly, shadows seemed to pass behind his eyes. I often caught him staring at the horizon, as if he was waiting for something or someone unseen. There were whispers in the neighborhood, rumors of his past. Nobody seemed to know where he came from, or why he was always alone. It began to fascinate me, pulling me deeper into the mystery. One day, as we practiced, I felt something shift in the air. Something dark loomed, something that made the hair on my arms stand on end. I looked into his eyes and saw a flash of fear. "You need to be careful," he warned, his voice low, almost like a growl. The world around me changed, the vibrations felt different, charged with intensity. And just when I thought I was learning to walk again, I stumbled upon the truth, the very secret that could tear us apart. The boy wasn't just lost, he was running from something I couldn't begin to understand. The questions rattled in my chest, growing heavier, clawing at my insides. Who was he really? What chased him? My heart raced, the tension thick in the air. I felt a chill crawling up my spine. This wasn't just about walking anymore, it was about survival. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm golden hue over the remains of the day, I felt the weight of unease settle in the pit of my stomach. Practicing with him had become the highlight of my mornings, the only escape from my otherwise shadowed life. Yet now, tensions brewed beneath the surface, an unspoken acknowledgement of something sinister lurking just out of reach. "Are you sure you're okay?" I asked, my voice barely more than a whisper. The boy's gaze shifted towards the ground, and he kicked at a pebble, his easygoing demeanor replaced by a seriousness that felt foreign between us. "Yeah," he replied, but the tremor in his voice spoke volumes. Just thinking. Thinking about what? I longed to pry open his heart, to understand the truth behind the guarded boy who had rekindled a flicker of hope in me, but I felt paralyzed by my own fear of pushing too far. The allure of knowing him completely, physically and emotionally, clashed violently with the knowledge that he was straight from a different world, one where my worries of bills and expectations felt trivial. That he glanced at the encroaching night with a watchful expression, and in his stillness, I sensed the weight of 1,000 unspoken words. "Come on, let's keep practicing," I encouraged, attempting to dispel the silence. Yet as I reached for his hand, he pulled away, a profound distance opening between us. My heart sank, and for the first time, I realized the fragility of our connection. "Please," I begged, "don't shut me out." The air felt thick with desperation. "Whatever it is, I'm here." He hesitated, revealing nothing. Then, without another word, he darted toward the edge of the lot, where shadows loomed larger in the darkening spaces. I followed, my steps hurried and anxious, fearing the worst. "Wait!" I shouted, my voice echoing against the empty houses. The boy turned, his eyes glistening like fragments of lost stars. "You don't understand," he said, urgency woven into his tone. "It's not safe for you to be around me." The words sliced through me, chilling me more than the warming night air. "What do you mean?" "Why? Because I'm not strong enough?" My pulse raced, a maelstrom of confusion and hurt. "Is that it? You think you have to protect me?" He shook his head, frustration boiling over. "It's not just that. There are things chasing me, things that could hurt you." The raw fear reflected in his gaze made my breath hitch. "You should forget me, go back to your life and leave this behind." "Leave you behind?" My voice broke, emotions pouring forth as anger and sadness collided. "You're not some burden. You helped me, made me feel alive again. You made me walk." The importance of our bond surged through me, igniting hope in the shadowed corners of my heart. He stepped back, the torment etched on his face, and in that moment, I saw him as raw and vulnerable as I had never allowed myself to acknowledge. I knew he was more than the whispered rumors that floated around, a soul running not just from his past, but from a future clouded in uncertainty. "I wish I could explain," he murmured, tears pooling in his eyes. "But if I stay, if I let you in completely, I risk everything. Everything." And just like that, the distance between us widened, tainted by the weight of truth. Despite my anger, I felt the despair trail into the empty silence around us. "Please," I said, desperation painting my words. "Don't let whatever is out there take you away from me. I want to fight with you." He hesitated, a moment of indecision flickering across his eyes. Then, as clouds rolled in above us, blocking the moonlight, a loud crashing sound pierced the air, rattling my bones. It felt like the universe responding to our plea, darkening the world around us. "Run!" he shouted, eyes wide with alarm. I didn't think, only reacted, gripping his hand tightly. Fear coursed through me as I sprinted beside him, hearts racing, but as I glanced behind, a shadow emerged from the trees, massive and foreboding, slinking closer. The cold grip of panic tightened in my chest, and I realized that our now shared fate was on the verge of unraveling, racing us toward an unknown destiny. In the chaos of flight and desperation, the boy's hand slipped from mine. "No!" I screamed, turning just in time to see him leap into the darkness, away from the encroaching danger. "Come back!" I cried, desperation clawing at my throat as the shadows closed in, swallowing him whole, and in that desperate moment, my heart shattered, realizing that even as I had begun to reclaim my life, I might lose the very light that had shown me the way back. The chase through the night seemed to stretch endlessly, the shadows weaving around me as I struggled to catch my breath. Adrenaline coursed through my veins, mingling with the rising fear clawing at my mind. I could feel the weight of the darkness pull me down. It was not just the absence of light but a heavy realization that I was utterly alone. The deafening silence around me echoed the absence of his presence. "Please, come back." I shouted, the words breaking free of my lips, filled with anguish. I turned in a desperate circle, searching the impenetrable darkness, my heart thundering with a mix of dread and disbelief. He had leapt into oblivion, and I was left stranded at the edge of my own fear. The sound of my racing pulse drowned out the rustling leaves, the thumps of distant footsteps barely reaching my ears. I felt a presence, a shadow lurking just beyond my periphery, and with it, an instinctual dread that tangled itself around my heart. I couldn't wait, couldn't stand paralyzed by fear. I needed to move, to find him. I took a step forward when the earth crumbled beneath me, sending me tumbling into a hidden pit. I landed hard, the breath left my lungs with a painful gasp. Clutching the dirt, I willed myself to breathe, to fight against the instinct to succumb to despair. It was not just about me anymore, it was about him too. Stay strong, I murmured to myself, forcing my limbs to obey, to rise above the panic. I clambered up the edge of the pit, scraping my hands against the rough earth, my heart pounding in anticipation of the unknown. As I ascended, a flicker of movement caught my eye, a shadow darting between the trees. Is that you? I whispered, hope igniting like embers in a cold fire. I bolted forward, forcing my legs to move faster, fueled by an urgency I didn't fully comprehend, but the deeper I ran into the woods, the thicker the darkness became, swallowing my sense of direction. The trees loomed ominously, their twisted branches clawing at the sky. Where are you? I called out, my voice trembling but persistent. Please, just say something. Suddenly, I heard a rustle, and there it was again, the unmistakable sound of footsteps, shuffling closer. I turned, my heart racing as I prepared to confront whatever shadow was creeping toward me. Instead of fear, a form emerged, familiar and unexpected, an old woman with streaks of silver in her tangled hair, her eyes wide and wise. Child, she said, her voice like the whispers of the wind. You run fast for a girl who has just found her feet. But the boy you seek has strayed into danger. I nearly stumbled back, the sight of her almost grounding me in the surreal moment. You know him? I blurted out, hope spilling from my heart. Where is he? She nodded slowly, her gaze shifting to the thick darkness enveloping the trees. He carries a heavy burden, the weight of shadows and dreams unfulfilled. But you, dear child, must know that your heart holds the key to breaking the chains that bind him. What do you mean? I asked, desperation tightening around the edges of my voice. How can I help him? I don't even know what we're fighting against. The spirit that chases him feeds on fear, the darkness feeds on fear, she whispered, her eyes piercing mine. But love, true love, shines light on even the darkest paths. He's afraid, but your presence gives him strength. Understanding dawned, a flickering light against the heavy shadows. I felt a pulse of determination surge through me, pressing against the weight of my fears and doubts. Then I have to find him. I can't let him go. She stepped closer, holding out her hand, and as I took it, a warmth spread through my fingers, grounding me in the moment. You must be brave and remember that not all battles are fought with strength. Sometimes, it's the quiet moments of compassion that can break the deepest curses. With newfound urgency, I released her hand and bolted past her, breaking away from the shelter of the trees, my heart racing toward the unknown. I will find you, I whispered to the darkness, those words a promise to whatever fate awaited me. As I ran deeper into the night, every heartbeat echoed a question: would love truly illuminate the path ahead? Suddenly, a shrill cry pierced the air, shattering the night's silence. I halted, breath caught in my throat as fear twisted my gut. No! I gasped, the realization dawning that the cry held weight, an echo of pain I recognized all too well. Hold on! I screamed, fighting against the powerful thrum of anguish in my chest. Each step felt like slow motion, but there in the distance, the outline of a struggle flickered amidst the shadows. There he was, the boy, the light of my life, ensnared in the clutches of something unfathomable. I sprinted toward him, his voice pleading against the darkness, a haunting reminder that this was just the beginning of our fight and I was not yet ready to let go. The struggle in the shadows intensified, the sounds of desperation tearing through the calm of the night. My heart raced as I closed the distance, every breath driven by an overwhelming urge to reach him, to pull him from the grips of whatever nightmare had ensnared him. Yet, with each step forward, the fear swelled within me, clouding my vision with the dread of what I might find. When I finally reached him, fear morphed into something darker. He was backed against an ancient tree, its gnarled roots twisting like the fingers of a hideous monster reaching for him. His eyes, usually bright and filled with mischief, were now wide with terror, reflecting the shadows that twisted around him. I could see the tightness in his jaw, the way he clenched his fists, the very essence of a fight unwilling to submit. Just hold on. I shouted, my voice fierce and raw, ringing against the surrounding silence. But before he could respond, the darkness shifted, swirling around him like a living entity intent on consuming his light. A wretched howl erupted from the depths of the shadows, wrapping around us like a suffocating shroud. I felt a tremor deep inside me. It was as if the very air was aware of the darkness lurking and craved my surrender to fear. Let him go. I cried out, thrusting my arms forward as if my will could physically push back the shadows. To my astonishment, the air crackled at my fingertips, a spark of warmth igniting amidst the chill. The darkness faltered for a moment, recoiling as if my love had hit it with an unyielding force. Stay back. He yelled, his voice breaking through the haze surrounding us. You shouldn't be here. It's too dangerous. No. I replied, shaking my head vigorously as tears sprang to my eyes. I'm not leaving you. You are not alone, not anymore. In that moment, I rushed forward, feeling an inexplicable pull toward him, a force that transcended the fear burdening my heart. The darkness writhed in response, its whispers growing louder, coiling around my thoughts, feeding off the panic radiating from us both. I could understand its intentions, the way it twisted everything good into something monstrous. But my resolve held strong. I reached for his hand, my fingers trembling as they grasped his. Take my hand, I urged, feeling warmth seep through our connection. We will face it together. He looked into my eyes, and for a heartbeat, I believed he saw the light I saw within him. I could almost hear the heartbeats of our souls, intertwined like roots beneath an ancient tree, yearning to break free. The darkness recoiled again, sensing the bond we had formed against its greed. That we watched as it pulsated dangerously, tenebrous and desperate. You don't belong here. He shouted. You can't take my hope anymore. Each word was a stake driven into the cold ground between us and the malevolence hovering inches from our reality. That I felt it shift then, as if our united strength distanced it further, peeling back the layers of fears, inadequacies, and despair that had once cloaked us both. In that fleeting moment, hope budded like a fragile flower breaking through the frost. The darkness sputtered, its howls turning into angry whispers, lost amidst our resolute stand, but just as the tide began to turn, the shadows erupted, embracing our connection with a chilling fury. They lashed out, fangs of darkness slicing through the air, an attempt to reclaim lost ground. With fierce determination, I tightened my grip on his hand, a shield formed not just from flesh, but from a bond unbroken by fear. Run! I screamed, trying to lure him towards the edge of the clearing. But the shadows surged again, almost tangible, pulling at us with relentless force. In that moment, I felt a profound shudder ripple through our connect. A revelation washed over me, palpable and cold. Wait! I gasped, recognition sparking within the depths of my mind. What if it's you? What if it's your fear that fuels it? His eyes flickered with confusion and dread. What do you mean? If it feeds on fear, then maybe. My throat tightened, a sinking realization overshadowing the hope I had just grasped. Maybe you have to face it, Alanino. I added quickly, shaking my head. Not alone, with me by your side, no. You can't. He began. That I can. I cried, my desperation mingling with determination. I won't let you bear this burden alone. We will find the light together. But even as I spoke, I could feel the encroaching darkness, a vengeful tide rising around us. Would he truly accept my offer, or would fear reclaim him, pulling him back into the abyss of hopelessness? His eyes searched mine, a mixture of dread and determination drifting across his features as the shadows whispered deceit, tempting him to retreat, and just as the dark finally closed around us, sealing our fates, I steeled my heart against the impending dread, believing in the warmth of my promise even if the weight of despair threatened to shred it apart. I had to believe we could walk towards the light, knew we had to try, but then, everything shifted once more. The ground beneath us began to tremble violently, and with a deafening roar, a dark figure emerged from the depths of the shadows. It reached for us with monstrous arms, and in the blinding swirl of darkness and terror, I heard a voice echoing from somewhere deep within, "Choose." It commanded, booming like thunder, "Choose?" I asked, my heart pounding as I clung to him, the reality of unimaginable choice settling heavy on my chest. "Choose what? What do you want from us? Only you can decide what power holds sway over your heart, a love that shines bright or the darkness that consumes." In that surreal moment, time felt suspended, the magnitude of decision gripping every fiber of my being. Each breath echoed louder than the last, a haunting reminder that choices made in the face of darkness could lead to unimaginable light or lead to losing everything, and that's when I understood the truth. Every step we had taken, every shadow that suffocated us, had led to this pivotal crossroad, a haunting reflection of our hearts laid bare. What choice would I make? The tremor beneath my feet spread like wildfire, sending shards of panic coursing through me. I could feel the darkness pulsing around us, its presence heavy and demanding, urging us to surrender. But in the intensity of that moment, I also felt something else, a flicker of hope ignited by our bond, a warmth that pierced through the encroaching shadows. "Choose." The voice boomed again, its demand echoing through the suffocating stillness of the night. The wind picked up, whipping through the branches of the ancient tree, stirring the air with frigid urgency. I looked into his eyes, desperate to convey the strength I felt spiraling between us. "My heart is yours," I whispered fiercely, though uncertainty clawed within me. "I choose love." He hesitated, the conflict evident across his face, but then, as if he understood the weight I carried, he nodded slowly. "I choose hope," he said, his voice steadying, spilling over with the warmth of beliefs long forged but now flickering in the storm. And as we made our choice, the air crackled again, an answering pulse like a heartbeat between us, momentarily drowning out the anguished howls of the darkness. The shadows writhed in response, their anger palpable. They twisted and coiled, thrashing around in an almost sentient fury, searching for cracks in our resolve. "You cannot defy the inevitable," the voice snarled, darkness swirling dangerously. "All hope is fleeting. You will both fall, not if we hold on to each other," I called out, unyielding. Even as I spoke those words, I could feel the desperation creeping back in, my heart suspecting the fears that lingered just beneath my bravado. A glimmer of doubt whispered in my ear, what if it was true? What if our hope was merely an illusion, fraying against the relentless tide of despair? But then, unexpectedly, something remarkable happened. A figure emerged from behind the shadows, its form becoming clearer with every heartbeat, a slender silhouette, barely a shimmer, but undeniably grounded in something that radiated warmth. I squinted against the darkness, incredulous at the flickering light darting towards us. A voice broke through the cacophony, soft yet unmistakably clear, "You are not alone." The figure stepped forward. It was a childhood friend, someone I thought lost to time and distance, a beacon of light in the suffocating night. "Is it really you?" I breathed, disbelief flooding my senses. As she approached, the shadows seemed to hesitate, momentarily retreating from her presence as if repelled by the light emanating from her being. "That I came when I felt your call," she said with an unwavering smile, her eyes sparkling with that familiar kindness I once found so comforting. "Believe in each other, believe in yourselves. You have the power to overcome." Her words filled us with renewed strength, but the darkness hissed angrily, trying to drown out her voice. "Foolish girl." It spewed, "None can escape their fate. They will succumb." But instead of retreating beneath the dark clutches around us, hope surged once more, untangling the web of doubt that had threatened to choke me. I tightened my grip on his hand, weaving into our connection the warmth of my friend's presence. "That we will endure," I declared, my voice rising stronger above the chaos, full of conviction. "No matter what you throw at us, we will stand together, unbroken. But even as the words left my lips, doubt loomed ever larger. The shadows encroached once more, seeping into the cracks of our resolve, morphing the brightness around us into shadows. I glanced at him, the fear in his eyes heavier than before, while fragments of darkness carried echoes of our shared past, taunts that threatened to unravel us. Do you even understand? He asked, his brow furrowing with confusion. This darkness, it knows me deepest fears, my failures. Why would it relent? No, it only thinks it knows. It feeds on what we've been, and it wishes to convince us that's all we can ever be. We must rewrite the story. I pleaded, my voice fierce with yearning. As if in response, the figure beside me spoke again, her gaze burning with resolve. Together, we can illuminate what it wishes to hide. Let us remind it of the love's power coursing through your very bones. Face your past, embrace it. Light comes not from forgetting but from acknowledging it and rising from those ashes. In that moment of clarity, I realized what was meant for us was not the absence of shadows, but the embrace of everything we had traversed. The road leading to freedom lay entwined with our stories, our battles fought in darkness. Then, without a hint of hesitation, she moved to stand beside him while I stayed rooted firmly in my place. "I'll be right here," I promised him, unwilling to let fear claim the ground beneath our feet. "Let her help you find your strength." His expression shifted, confusion mingling with a sliver of understanding. "I can't let you take the brunt of this," he murmured, gaze swimming with hesitance. "You won't? Well, face it together every step of the way." His fear flickered like a candle, almost extinguished in a flash of uncertainty. But then, he took a deep breath, finally stepping forward, the shadows whispering fury at the defiance. Time hung suspended as he leaned into the warmth of our friendship, the connection thrumming like electric tendrils between us. I watched as he reached out toward the writhing darkness. "I'm done hiding," he declared, the strength behind his words resonating deeply. "You have no power over me," and just like that, the battle rippled anew, the darkness exploding in a storm of fury, ravaging the air with a violent roar. I felt it crackle against my skin, a whirlwind of chaos, but with my heart pounding in synchronization with his, a vivid image burned in my mind. But the shadows rallied, an undercurrent of desperation surging forth, feeding on the turbulence and creeping shadows. I sensed that this fight had far deeper roots than I initially anticipated, that it was not merely about fear but about the fragile humanity we all held within us. The tension escalated, my heart thrumming against my chest as the shifting winds closed in around us. The darkness pulled tighter, wrapping around his figure like heavy chains, dragging him back into its depths, and the command echoed once more, "Choose again." In that moment, a shocking realization clenched like a vice in my chest. I could either stay anchored in my belief of love or allow the gnawing doubt to claim us. But what would it mean to choose again, and what new revelation lay hidden in the dark? My heart raced, teetering on the edge of despair, as I felt the ground shift beneath me for a second time, threatening to swallow the light whole, and as the shadows surged forward with devastating intensity, I could only grasp onto what remained of our connection, praying that we could weather the storm or risk losing everything sacred we had built together. The storm of shadows enveloped us, ripping through the air with a ferocity that chilled me to the bone. My heart raced as I felt the darkness coil around him, testing our fragile resolve. The air pulsed with an energy so potent it felt alive, a living entity intent on devouring every flicker of hope we had just ignited. "That we need to hold on, no matter what," I urged, locking my gaze with his. Determination surged through me, and I could feel the warmth of our connection thrumming between us, a fragile thread woven from the past and anchored in the present. But even as I spoke, I sensed his doubt, the shadows whispering secrets meant to ensnare him. "How can we defeat something that knows every scar?" he questioned, vulnerability casting a shadow over his resolve. "It's not just my past, it's the weight of my family's failures pressing down on me. How do we escape something that is intricately woven into who I am?" For a brief moment, I felt the pull of despair, an echo of his pain resonating within me. But then, I remembered my friend beside me, the strength she embodied reminding me that darkness could not extinguish the light of perseverance. "That we don't escape," I replied, my voice unwavering, even as the shadows entwined closer. "We embrace it. Your past isn't your prison, it's part of your journey, a chapter that has shaped who you are, but it does not define your future. You are so much more than the darkness that tries to claim you. As I spoke, a brilliant spark within me ignited, a memory of him laughing under the sun, unfettered by the burdens that now threatened to overwhelm him. I pushed through with every ounce of love I held for him, willing him to remember the boy who dared to dream, to rise each time he stumbled, remember the moments that made you whole, the times you stood tall despite the odds. Fight back with that spirit, I urged, my heart lifting with hope. Those memories are your armor. Use them. But the shadows roared in counter-argument, an indescribable entity that fed off fear and doubt. You cannot cherish what has already been lost. It hissed, casting a suffocating fog that muddied the once clear terrain of our emotions. Then, in an unexpected twist, the wind shifted, and I felt my friend's presence grow stronger, fending off the worst of the darkness with shimmering rays of light. Her voice cascaded like an urgent melody, drifting through the tumult. When darkness surrounds, remember, it cannot erupt from the heart that holds love. And then something began to shift within him. I watched as the flicker of light ignited in his eyes, a glimpse of worth slowly returning to the surface. He squeezed my hand tightly, the warmth of our shared conviction thrumming powerfully in the air. You're right, he said, his voice suddenly sure, each word a mantra of defiance against the shadows. They may have known the boy I once was, but they don't own the man I'm becoming. His newfound strength acted like a spark, casting out the shadows that clung so desperately. I felt the presence of love and friendship solidify around us, a protective shield against the chaos howling around our feet, but the darkness was relentless, clawing about the edges of our resolve, furious that its grip was slipping. It writhed restlessly, seeking the cracks through which to infiltrate our defenses. The ground shuddered beneath us, fierce winds and chilling whispers screaming from each direction. Choose, boy. Choose again. The voice summoned, desperation lacing its tone, afraid of what we might become unified against its will. He looked to me, and I saw fear flicker in his eyes once more. My heart clenched painfully in my chest. Would he falter? The shadows clawed at the memories of every wrestle he had ever faced, trying to tempt him into despair. Together, I urged, locking eyes once more, letting our connection feed the energies swirling around us. Whatever choice you make, remember I am with you. Our love fights against this. I meant to inspire hope, but doubt knotted in my stomach as the shadows screamed in response, desperately attempting to reclaim their power. As he began to choose, a terrible realization struck me like a lightning bolt. What if the choice mapped out was not merely between light and dark, but a deeper sacrifice? My heart began to race, the thought of losing what tethered us together ripping through me. Would our love be enough to survive the cost that lay ahead? I gripped his hand tighter, feeling uncertainty brush at the nape of my neck, a cold chill quickly drowned by the fire of my determination. I believe in you, I whispered, a quiet plea winged with the weight of my heart. No matter the choice, we will pave a path through the dark. With a primal scream that echoed through the air, he exclaimed, I choose to fight for who I am. I choose love, I choose life. As his declaration reverberated through the shadows, a bright light exploded from within him, illuminating the heavens and forcing the darkness to recoil. It was the birth of a star breaking free, and I marveled at the beauty of his courage, but just as hope surged brightly, the darkness retaliated with a vengeance like I've never felt before. It crackled and exploded, a desperate fury striking at the foundation of everything we built. And then, with terrifying clarity, my heart dropped. A new realization swept over me like cold waves, dousing our flames. Fleeting images of a young boy, a smile wide with blossoming dreams, danced across my memory yet again, but intertwined with a darker reality. I stood paralyzed as his eyes suddenly shifted, revealing something haunting and profound. Together, we will uncover the truth, who I really am. As he reached forward to merge with the expanding light, a massive shadow engulfed us once more, swallowing the brilliance like a hungry beast. For the flicker of a moment, fear seized my heart. The truth he sought might take him further from me than I ever imagined. As the darkness closed in with its predatory force, the fabric of our connection strained under the weight of an uncertain future. The chasm of shadows gaped open, whispering secrets that potentially threatened to unravel all we had fought for. What truth lay behind those eyes, and what would be the cost of unearthing it? And in the grip of that unyielding abyss, I felt the ground tremble, the winds howling, along with the rising tide of the unknown. I knew our battle was far from over, that what lay ahead might alter everything I had once believed. The heart of darkness pulsed as we stood at the edge, teetering on the precipice of hope and despair, uncertain of our next step in the storm that raged around us. The shadows writhed around us, coiling like snakes eager to tighten their grip. As his declaration echoed through the night, the intensity of the surrounding darkness clashed with the brilliant light emanating from him. But the force of that surge was a double-edged sword, a spark that ignited something primal within the shadows. I could feel the temperature drop, a sign that they were not yet willing to concede defeat. Stay close. I shouted over the chaos as he reeled from the violent backlash, the luminosity flickering dangerously. The light woven from our shared conviction glimmered, but it felt more tenuous than ever. I could sense the impending clash of powers, both of us bracing for the storm that loomed in the shadow's wake, while I anchored myself to the reality of his presence beside me. Fear clawed at my mind. What if fighting against this darkness meant more than we ever bargained for? Could we withstand what revelation awaited us? Sweat beaded on my forehead as a deep rush of anxiety filled my chest. I couldn't let him sense my hesitation, not now, not when he needed strength. He turned to me, breathing heavily, his eyes darkening with a mixture of power and confusion. What do we do next? His voice trembled, and I fought the instinct to show my worries, to not betray the storm inside. Instead, I chose to reach into myself for answers, knowing they had to come from somewhere deep. Next, we trust. I couldn't let him see how deeply I feared for him. We need to keep moving, to confront the truth together. Shadows feed on despair, we won't let them win. With each step, I urged him forward, but as we moved through the thickening darkness, a panicked whisper slithered through the air, sharper than the chill that encompassed us. Do you really think love can save you? It hissed, echoing in the depths of our minds. Look how easily it falters. The ground beneath us began to quake violently as despair seeped into our hearts, pooling around doubts we had fought so valiantly to cast aside. I ached at the memory of our earlier triumph, a flicker of light that now felt like a distant dream. I won't let you go back to who you were. I shouted defiantly, unwilling to allow the sinister voice to seep into our resolve. In that moment of desperation, warmth flowed through our clasped hands, a reminder of everything we had shared, the laughter, the tears, the glimpses of joy that had once knit our paths together. Not now. Not ever. His gaze met mine, and I searched for any flicker of purpose, any trace of the boy who had fought so hard to be heard. Slowly, as if remembering some long-lost melodic truth, color returned to his cheeks, fear giving way to something brighter. We are so much stronger than what they think, he whispered earnestly, the shadows recoiling slightly as if sensing his resolve, but moments of clarity were often fleeting within this tumultuous darkness. The ground roared again, snapping the fragile thread of our hope. I felt the tether of fear slink deeper into the chaos, attempting to detach us in the midst of this battle for the light. A sudden gust of wind surged, tearing through the darkness like a knife, and I felt a chilling breath against my ear. You believe the light can shield you, but you can never escape what you are meant to become, it murmured, dripping with cynicism. My heart raced as hazy visions of the past began to unravel around us, familiar faces shrouded in recollection. There, on the periphery of reality, stood fragments of a life I had known, for within the shadows lay remnants of memories I had been unwilling to confront. Images of a childhood left behind, where laughter rang hollow and joy faded under the weight of expectations. No. I cried out, feeling the pain reverberate in my bones. This was a personal attack, a reminder that even the strongest bonds could fracture under the surface. I clutched my head, wanting to shut it out but unable to silence those haunting thoughts. Stop! But my scream ignited a relentless torrent. The shadows burgeoned in every direction, swirling with ferocity. You think you can fight against your fate? They taunted. Your truth lies buried, and it will claim you. In that chaos, I turned to him, desperate for clarity, searching for the spark that had ignited our love. But as I met his gaze, time froze and I gasped. The warmth that had resonated within him flickered dangerously, and I saw a shift, a glimmer of something darker threatening to take root. "Choose, my love," he sounded almost ethereal, words laced with an eerie calm that set my heart racing. "To know oneself is to embrace both the light and the shadows." The word struck like lightning, a moment of absurd clarity colliding with my purpose. The truth of his unwavering strength was tethered to something far more profound than I ever wished for us to confront. I reached for him, grasping his face in my trembling hands. "No, don't lose yourself in this. What if I can't?" he asked, the tremor in his voice sending chills through my spine. As our fingers interlocked tightly, I realized that the line between hope and despair had always been precarious. And in that fragility lay the greatest revelation. What if standing true meant facing the full spectrum of his story, even the shadows that could tear us apart? "Whatever truth you find, we will face it together," I vowed fiercely, but my voice shook with the weight of uncertainty. Shadows fluttered ominously around us as darkness swelled like a thunderous tide, eager to reclaim what it had lost. The air thickened with tension, and as he opened his mouth to respond, the ground trembled violently. Blood-red threads intertwining in the suffocating darkness surged forth, unfurling like vines with a life force of their own, relentlessly pulling him away from me. "No!" I screamed, reaching desperately as the shadows constricted around him, an insatiable hunger forcing us apart. I watched in horror as his form was engulfed, and in that fateful moment, my heart shattered like glass. A final glimpse stole my breath away, his expression caught in a mix of realization and surrender. "Together." And then, darkness swallowed his cry, pulling him deeper into the abyss as I was left reeling, a specter of hope torn from the core of my being. Nothing remained but the deafening silence, the desperate pull of fear slamming down like a door, locking me out from what once was. The storm still raged around me, but I could feel the broken pieces of my heart, now flailing in the churning void of uncertainty. The silence was a heavy cloak, suffocating and thick as I stood amidst the aftermath of our shattered hope. It weighed down my chest, transforming each breath into a laborious struggle. I staggered backward, the spot where he had stood now a gaping void, the air fraught with echoes of his last word "together." The shadows that had once twisted and written in a malevolent dance now languidly crept back, as if gorging on the despair I had harbored. I stumbled, the darkness pulling at my ankles like an ethereal tide eager to reclaim what it had lost. "No!" I shouted into the endless night, my voice raw and unremarkable against the oppressive silence. "You will not take him from me." Each syllable carried the weight of a breaking heart, the resolve of a love desperate to overcome insurmountable odds. For a moment, I felt what could only be described as an invisible pulse beneath my feet, a rhythm that called to me. I reluctantly followed it, the sensation warming my skin, tempting me with the promise of solace and clarity. As I moved, the suffocating shadows seemed to yield ever so slightly, creating a fragile path that glimmered faintly, beckoning me forward. Hope flickered, fragile and small like a candle fighting against a relentless wind. I looked beyond the edge of the darkness, searching for a hint of where he might have been taken. My heart clutched at the memory of his touch, the warmth of his laughter interwoven with the stark reality of the shadow's grip. What truth lay hidden in that consuming blackness? Each step echoed the tremors of my heartbeat, propelling me onwards, driven by an inexplicable urgency. For every painful memory that sought to ground me in despair, there emerged glimmers of light, fragments of laughter and affection that thrived despite the looming chaos. The heartbeat spread outward, urging me, reminding me of all that we had fought against, reminding me of the battle still to be waged. As I journeyed against the tide of sorrow and uncertainty, I caught sight of silhouettes dancing in the far distance. Confused yet intrigued, I hardened my resolve and sprinted toward the hazy forms. Was it possible that I wasn't alone? Getting closer, I discovered a gathering of spirits, figures cloaked in ethereal light, their faces both hauntingly familiar and achingly comforting. They shimmered with the essence of those I had lost, an assembly of forgotten faces from my past, each bearing their own burden of shadows yet undeterred. They circled rhythmically, weaving in and out around me as the darkness writhed with futile attempts to drown out their song. One of them stepped forward, her features brightening the surrounding gloom. "Do not despair," she said, her voice echoing with a melodic resonance that soothed my fraying nerves. You have reached the brink, yet you have the power to overcome these shadows. Remember, love holds an infinite strength. The words washed over me like a warm embrace. Her aura pulsed with an inviting glow that illuminated a path I thought had long ago been sealed. I glanced back at the shadows, writhing angrily at the edges, and a surge of determination coursed through my veins, a fierce celebration of memories tied to each soul surrounding me. You're all here, I whispered, overwhelmed as tears brimmed in my eyes, both in joy and sorrow. But how? The darkness. Love always finds a way, she interjected gently, her voice lacing through the air with a sense of urgency. You must not allow the shadows to define your journey. To bring him back, you have to embrace the essence of all that you both are, every lesson, every heartache. It all matters. An impossible yet fervent thought began to take root within Muhat. If I could gather the strength of those who had once walked beside me? What if I could merge their stories with my own? There was a warmth I had forgotten, an echo of hope that rang harmoniously within our hearts. Summoning every shred of courage I possessed, I stepped forward to join their circle. The spirits swirled around me as I extended my palms to them, murmuring the names of those I cherished, the lessons they had imparted me. I remember you, I said, closing my eyes as I leaned into the glow. Every moment we shared, every inch of light you brought into my life. I will carry you with me. Through the darkness, our love shines brighter, the spirits responded, their collective luminescence igniting as their voices melded into a harmonious chorus. I felt the connections deepening, a tapestry of experience weaving through me, stitching together the remnants of love and loss. As the shadows curled and recoiled in anger, I opened my eyes, a radiant light bursting forth from within me, an amalgamation of every soul who had stood beside me. I could feel the dark tendrils retreating as I banded together the strength of shared memories, weaving a beacon of hope that pierced into the void where he had been swallowed. Together, I whispered, the word reverberating through the encroaching darkness. I will find you. But just as that light erupted, something vibrated ominously beneath my feet, a jolt shattering the unity I had begun to weave. I watched in horror as the shadows writhed violently, tearing apart the fabric of hope I had assembled. A new figure emerged from the gloom, cloaked in darkness yet distinctly shaped by familiarity. Shadows poured off him like a tear in reality. My heart plummeted as recognition flooded through me, for he bore the same haunting smile that my love had worn before the abyss swallowed him whole. Did you really think you could escape your fate? He spoke in a voice dipped in regret, a dark undertow lurking beneath, as if he had been both guardian and jailer of the shadows. It's too late. In that moment, the light within me flickered, the brilliance now challenged by the stark reality of my opposing will. I could feel the dread clawing at the edges of my heart, but I gripped onto the memories of those who stood with me, refusing to let go. As shadows spiraled around us, urging me towards the precipice of despair, I met his gaze once more, both a mirror and a warning, and barely rose above the chaos, grasping onto the very essence of my love. All that I had wished for, all that we stood for, was suddenly teetering on the edge, wrapped in the bittersweet promise of an uncertain fate. Together, I resolved fiercely, riding the tide of uncertainty, as the shadows roared around me. I believed in us. This light could still bloom even in darkness, but my soul shivered, knowing only too well that the road forward would demand both courage and sacrifice, and the darkness looming behind could easily snatch it away once more. The heart-pounding realization of the unknown deepened as I turned toward the pulsing void, ready to engage in the fiercest fight of my life, my final chance to reclaim him before everything faded into obscurity. The ground beneath me trembled with a fierce energy that seemed to challenge the very resolve I had summoned. Shadows danced chaotically around me, vibrating with anger, while the figure before me, a cruel reflection of the love I had lost, leaned in closer, his presence suffocatingly familiar yet terrifyingly distant. Do you truly believe love can conquer this? He taunted, the shadows swirling at his feet, eager to enforce his words. You are but a flicker in the vastness of night, and soon, you will extinguish. I could feel the flicker within me wavering, as if at any moment, all I had fought for could be snuffed out. Doubt crept in like a thief, robbing me of the strength I had cultivated from the spirits around me. With every moment that passed, the shadows drew nearer, their whispers curling like smoke, threatening to consume the last remnants of my hope. but somewhere amidst that chaos, a memory ignited, a soft touch, a gentle laugh, a promise shared beneath the stars. The warmth of our love surged through me, and I braced against the shadows, channeling every ounce of the light we had created together. "You are wrong," I shouted, my voice cutting through the darkness like a sword. "Love is not just a flicker, it is a wildfire. It burns bright, fierce, and unstoppable, even in the face of despair." As I spoke, the spirits encircled me, their glow intensifying in response to my proclamation. The sound of their harmonies swelled to a crescendo, drowning out the mocking laughter of the shadowy figure. "What you see as my weakness," I continued, channeling the strength of every beloved soul within me, "is my greatest power. These shadows cannot extinguish our light." Letting instinct take over, I reached into the memories I had woven into the fabric of my being. The overwhelming love I felt wasn't just for the face before me, but for every person who had shown me the way, every struggle that had brought me here. I called out, not just to him but to every spirit that existed in this moment with me. "Together, we can prevail," I declared, the shields of darkness before me cracking under the force of my love. The energy surged through me, a brilliant light erupting like the first rays of dawn. I could see the shadows retreat, twisting and curling away as they struggled against the warmth. The figure before me faltered, briefly hesitant, caught off guard by a force he had underestimated. "I will not allow you to take him," I vowed, feeling the pulse of unity amongst the spirits simmering at my fingertips. "I will reclaim everything that the darkness has stolen," and the Nina heartbeat. The ground beneath me gave way, sending waves of light cascading outward like a shockwave. It crashed into the shadows, illuminating the void with brilliant luminescence. The laughter of those who had loved me mingled with my own cries of defiance, morphing into a roaring battle cry that echoed through the depths of despair. But it wasn't enough. As the light fought valiantly against the consuming shadows, I felt a sudden chill wrap around my heart. In that moment, pain pierced through my resolute facade when I heard a voice so painfully familiar, trembling and full of anguish. "Please, don't let go." It was a mere whisper, a desperate plea hidden within the winds of darkness, yet it echoed with haunting clarity. My heart shattered anew, the love I had been fighting for reduced to a fragile string, tethered to a hope that now hung precariously in the balance. I dropped to my knees, overwhelmed by the shadows that began to suffocate the light, smothering the memory of the love I was fighting to preserve. "Where are you?" I cried out, the shadows consuming my voice, desperation knotting within my chest. The visions of our past played in a rapid reel, all the moments shared, all the hearts woven into one singular journey, only to be threatened by a grim uncertainty that loomed ever closer. In that throbbing darkness, I felt the echoes of our laughter begin to fade, replaced by a haunting silence that felt eternal. The light flickered against the shadows, wavering as my resolve nearly crumbled, but just as despair threatened to claim me entirely, I felt the pulse of love once more, bold and bright, weaving threads of strength around me, tethering me to those who had fought before. A spark of resilience ignited within my soul. "I will find you," I cried, my voice now stronger, fueled by both anguish and a raw determination. "Together, we will rise again." The light brightened, arms reaching out toward the shadows in defiance, and as I pushed onwards, the darkness receded. A battle not yet won, but a flicker of hope ignited within my spirit. And yet that pair of eyes that glimmered with anguish lingered on the edges of my consciousness, as if a piece of my soul was still tangled in the shadows. But in the throes of my fight, a revelation washed over me. What if he was not just lost in the shadows? What if the darkness was hiding a part of him that had once been mine to reclaim? With that thought entwining my resolve, I surveyed the tumultuous shadows surrounding me. The light within me pulsed and swelled, aching to bridge the distance between where I was and where I believed him to be. A leap into the unknown fueled by love, and then, just as the shadows threatened to press down upon me once more, a breath caught in my throat with another wave of energy, a flicker not just of pointlessness but of possibility. I took a step forward. I didn't know where the path would lead, but I sensed the existence of hope still swaying in the distance. "Hold on, I'm coming," I shouted into the cavernous dark. And just as the words escaped my lips, I felt something alive within the shadows shift, a ripple of light surging through the void. But with it came an echo of danger, threatening to unravel everything I had fought to hold together. I was closer than ever, and yet I could feel the attention of the figure shift. "It's futile," he hissed, shadows swirling dangerously around him. "In your desperation, you may lose more than your light." Panic lurched in my throat, realization stinging like a whip. What depths was I willing to plunge into, all for a chance at love? The shadows encroached again, but lingered with a question one I dared to answer, fueling my determination with purpose. "Together, we'll find our way," I whispered, centering my heart amidst the chaos, as step by step, I ventured toward the consuming dark, the warmth of hope pulling me closer, even as I ventured deeper into the abyss. But just as I reached out, primed to embrace whatever lay ahead, an ominous silence fell around me. A surge of panic coursed through me. Then, a voice, echoing from the depths of the shadows, rose and cut through the silence like glass. "Are you willing to sacrifice everything for him? Even yourself?" Those words hung like a specter in the air, an ominous question suspended between hope and despair, a chilling reminder that the heart's greatest desires often demanded the thickest blood. With a shaking breath, I knew this was only the beginning of my perilous journey. The answer loomed both fearsome and beautiful, and there was no turning back from the choices echoing in the depths of the void. I stand at the edge of everything. Shadows writhe at my feet, attempting to pull me back into the familiar darkness. But I will not yield. I will not let despair dictate my fate, especially after feeling the light of love burn within me, a beacon too powerful to deny. My heart races, every beat a reminder of who I am and where I came from. I take a step forward, clinging fervently to the warmth of his memory, the spark of hope that ignites my soul. "Together," I whisper, my voice fragile yet unwavering. "We will find our way." But the shadows mock me, their laughter swirling around like smoke. They know the depth of my fear. They know the truth. They know the stakes. "Are you willing to sacrifice everything for him? Even yourself?" The voice growls through the suffocating gloom, its words curling around my mind like barbed wire. The question hangs heavy, a harbinger of doubt that claws at my insides, dredging up memories of loss, of heartache. I can feel their dark eyes watching, waiting for me to falter, and I cannot. I summon every moment, every flicker of light shared with him, weaving them into a tapestry of resolve that strengthens my spirit. I remember him dancing across the asphalt of that vacant lot, the laughter that sparkled in his deep eyes. I remember his warmth when he held my hand, when he taught me to walk again, not only with my feet but with my heart. He opened up a world inside me I thought I had lost forever. I refuse to let that slip into the shadows without a fight. Maybe love does come with a price, I admit into the ether, stealing my resolve, searching for an answer within myself. But you will not take him from me. I would give anything to reclaim that light. With every step, I push deeper into the darkness, surrendering to the unfamiliar terrain, knowing I carry the weight of love forged in the fires of adversity. The moment I accept that darkness is a part of the journey, it shifts, becoming less a predator seeking to devour, and more an ally challenging me in my resolve. Something begins to stir within the shadows, pulling back as if reconsidering its approach to the heart that adamantly pushes against it. The pulse of our connection thrums in tandem with my heart, awakening the remnants of light that swirl at the fringes. Together, we will rise. I scream, forcing my voice to break through the veil of despair, lifting into a melody of power that reverberates against the deep void. Suddenly, I feel movement, a burgeoning swell of light that fans outward from my chest, igniting the shadowy tumult around me. It is raw, furious, and breathtaking, the unyielding radiance of shared love. The darkness shrinks back, however slight, almost as if surprised by its own retreat. Hope flickers like a flame against bone-chilling night, and as I solidify my resolve, I sense something Simonian moving closer within the shadowy abyss. "Are you here?" I call out, my heart racing as adrenaline surges through my veins. The shadows twist grotesquely as I cup my hands around my mouth, echoing our shared memories into the void. "Is this where you've been hiding?" Please let it be him. Then, against the swirling darkness, a figure steps forth. He stumbles, cloaked in shadow yet undeniably familiar. I can hardly breathe for the rush of emotions overtaking mere relief and pain colliding in a tempestuous dance. It's you, I whisper, tears cascading down my cheeks as the figure shifts into the muted glow of memory, the boy whose laughter remained embedded in my spirit, the boy who taught me how to let go, how to walk again, but there's a weight in his eyes, an unfamiliar sadness that stretches out toward me. I thought I could not live in the light, he responds, each word slipping from his lips laced with vulnerability. I thought by hiding in the darkness, I would save you from my past. No. I cry, taking a step closer, feeling his presence interlace with mine. What happened before does not define who we are now. We are not broken, not shattered, we are a part of a greater whole. Everything you fought against has led us here, and together, we are unstoppable. The shadows recoil, whispering furious promises of regret and loss, but I hold on to his gaze, seeking the flicker of recognition that gleams through the depths of uncertainty. Remember when we danced? When you showed me that walking was about more than just feet, but about heart? I implore, every ounce of hope piercing through the chaos. We can rewrite our story. As a ripple of light beckons from within, I see his walls begin to crumble. I want to believe, he breathes, and suddenly it's as if the very universe aligns to our plea. With a surge of courage, I take his hands, feeling that electric connection that has always bound us. Together, we raise our voices against the encroaching darkness. Together, we chant, we will face the shadows, and we will reclaim what is ours, and just like that, the shadows begin to unravel, their hold weakening as light swells, enveloping us both in an embrace of warmth. It is as if every fragment of our shared past springs forth, every laugh, every tear, every memory blooming anew like flowers breaking through the frost. A blinding pulse of energy detonates, scattering the shadows into tendrils that whisper and wail as they retreat from the light we've ignited. From the depths of despair, I see fragments of childhood laughter, echoes of lost dreams shimmering, forging everything we've lost into a light formidable against that which sought to consume us. Suddenly, the landscape shifts. The shadows dissolve, yielding to the light we have summoned. We stand amidst remnants that fade slowly, slowly, revealing an open field as sunbeams pour down like honey, illuminating a path before us. The truth of our love, I whisper, looking at him, is that it will endure, it can conquer even the deepest darkness. He nods, tears glistening in his eyes, and for the first time, I see the boy before me, light that had once danced so brightly but now tempered by the shadows of his past. And with every fiber of my being, as I gaze into the depths of his soul, I realize the journey may have ended here, but a brand new journey awaits amid this endless horizon. Each step forward isn't just away from the dark, it's a testament to everything we've fought through and everything we will become. As we take our first steps into this new dawn, I feel the heavy weight of my heart begin to lift, the connection forged across realms of pain and love, a fervent reminder of resilience. Together, I vow, echoing the promise made both to him and to ourselves. In that moment of clarity, I take a deep breath, letting the warmth wash over me. Together, we will walk. Together, we will embrace the light. Together, we emerge from the depths of the shadows, and I know that we will shine brighter than we ever thought possible. And with that realization, my heart swells. We were never truly lost. We were always meant to find each other, and together, the world feels boundless. Together, we are free, I whisper, the words carrying through the dawn like a fragile promise, the wind rustling through the grass as if agreeing with the revelation that echoes in my heart. And as the sun breaks the horizon, bathing us in golden light, I know with unwavering certainty that we will embrace the endless possibilities that await us. Together.